Namaskar. Hello and welcome to DGI 445 Daily Global Insights Saturday edition. It's a little early today. We usually come at 6:30 p.m. Today we have a packed schedule in the evening, so we thought we will do it at 11 to give you time to absorb all this stuff. Lots of new information that has not been covered in any of the other media. You're going to be getting it today, a lot of insights. And please first like this video, and if you have not subscribed to our channel, do consider doing so. Let's welcome Sridhar Chityala ji. Sridhar ji, namaskar, sir. How are you?
Namaskar, and late good night and early good morning, or late good morning to people in India and other parts of the world. I'm doing very good, sir. Thank you.
Sir, let's take a quick look at what the Federal Reserve has done. Everybody was expecting the Federal Reserve to actually drop the rates by even 0.25% or something. But the Fed has come back and said that, we think that we are going to hold it steady for some more time. And maybe in the second half, they may think of doing that. Now, usually when the market doesn't approve of that, there will be a sharp reaction and the market will tank. Play us through what happened after that, because today I see markets are up again. So what is going on really in the market, sir?
See, I think it's one segment of the market had anticipated a rate cut by March 31st, or at least June 30th, an indicative trend from the Fed. But what the Fed is saying is that I still see there's no sustained control of inflation, unemployment. We still could be having some surprises which may drive the inflation up. Under these circumstances, we have to wait and see more sustained fall of inflation coming through the system. Clearly, the supply chain as well as efficiency in the other mechanisms and reduction in oil prices has all helped for the inflation to come down to about 3.4%. Remember, from November to December, it went from 3.2 to 3.4%, the inflation here. So what the Fed is saying is that under these circumstances, I'm going to pause. Growth is not my kind of agenda, but containing inflation is my mandate. So this is the Fed's position, and they basically even ruled out even a June. So we are now looking at the second half. Most of the people expected second half rate cut. Now, the question, therefore, is that tech companies all reported very positive earnings, but also gave a very cautious outlook for rest of 2024. Now, you're asking the question, okay, you expect significant kind of drop in the market numbers or the market index, but on the contrary, the market seems to have absorbed, and the futures are pointing to a slight rise. The markets are not driven purely by rates alone. The markets are also driven by consumer confidence and positive sentiments. The job increases. The job numbers which came after Dr. Jerome Powell's announcement pointed against 182,000 jobs. There was more than 353,000 jobs, non-farm payrolls added, which seemed to indicate, the people are recruiting, there's positive momentum, and therefore, this has to be reflected in the sentiment. So earnings is likely to be better, notwithstanding what the tech companies stated. So that is what you saw in the uptick in the prices, Sriji. And the other important variable, which will go ahead, the oil prices dropped. You remember last week, earlier this week, when we said, the Brent was about $80. Sorry, it was about. So all these sentiments played a part in the markets absorbing the rate cut, but showing positive sentiments by end of day, Sriji.
In India news, the finance minister and the Modi government have delivered a fiscally prudent budget and gets a thumbs up from markets. The focus is on infra, investment, innovation, and development. The borrowing is to stay lower than fiscal 24, and the deficit is going to be contained to within 5.1%. So for the longest time, the deficit was supposed to be 3% or less. When did it creep up to 5%, sir? COVID effect?
COVID effect. That's it. You got it. So therefore, we had 10% in United States, so 5%, from 9%, they brought it down to 5%. So I think that the COVID effect is contained. You need to continue to inject capital post-COVID in terms of making sure that the credit contraction doesn't happen, which in turn causes what you call as the double barrel effect, which is, people need money, but money is not there. People need benefits, there's no benefits. So therefore, you flow on the benefits through the austerity or deficit or a debt, but you also make sure that there is no contraction of capital. And I think that India, which was, I think, 5.4%, they expect FY24 numbers, which will be March 31st, 24. And we are talking about, 20 or 10 basis points here, Sriji. So therefore, apparently driven by very positive earning numbers. I have not done a macro and micro analysis of the budget. They expect tax revenues to grow, the GST revenues to grow, which all feeds in terms of cutting the deficit. So that's my observation of the budget. The most critical observation that I would make of the overall budget is and the whole budget process is probably moving towards a US-centric model. What I mean by that is take most of the emotion and policy decisions out of the budget and try to do it outside. I'll give an example. United States announced last week for the little bit tax cuts on the business side, and then they also gave child tax credits. They added. It was not part of the budget, but the Senate and the House passed. The House passed the resolution. So you may see many of the social austerity programs, coming outside of the budget being announced as he goes into the election memento, Sriji.
Thank you, sir. And now let's go on to the next item. 5 trillion GDP target and becoming the third largest economy being the other key focus. Sir, this 5 trillion GDP, it's a good number, but should India not be looking at per capita income?
See, per capita I think we discussed it, numerator, denominator. You can't change the denominator. The per capita is both numerator and denominator. What the government can do is, it's not going to reduce 1.4 billion people into 1 billion people, but it can grow 5 trillion to 10 trillion. So the focus on per capita is reflected on the growth of the GDP. So it says, I'm continuing to push the GDP to 5 trillion. The PPP, which is very effective in terms of measuring India's progress, actually you should take PPP into account. India's PPP will be north of $15 trillion. So this is the purchasing power of the Indian rupee will grow as they push both GDP and PPP numbers up. It's a correct approach, Sriji.
India is going to be acquiring 31 MQ-9B Predator drones after US Congress approves the sale. Sridharji, there was a storm in the teacup here. You have some unflushables in the Department of State. I'm sure that's where it came from, because there was, even though there was a story in the wire, there were other sites who are also mentioning. So somebody, even though they have been overruled, outgunned, outfoxed, you shut your mouth kind of attitude told to them, they still want to create some noise. And these people cannot be fired, even if Trump comes. So, talk to us a little bit. We should not name them. Why name them and make them famous? We know who was doing this. Talk to us a little bit about the importance of this.
Well, I think that first and foremost, both House and Senate approved this deal. Senate Foreign Relations Committee approved it, which is very good. And one of the rationales that is pointed out is that to wean India away from buying Russian equipment. This has been used. 3 of them were leased from General Atomics, has been used by the Indian forces. They say that it is very, very effective, and has done more than 10,000 hours of flying. Was very successful in mitigating some of the issues around the Galwan region. So the one that they are acquiring is both surveillance and attack. So they can be loaded with weaponry, and they can be used as an offensive missionary. So 31 drones are being obtained. I think 15 are going to the Navy, and eight Indian armed forces and the Air Force. So they're getting the 16. So which means it's a multi-combat use capability by the armed forces. So they can use for reconnaissance, they can use for surveillance, they can use it as an attack weapon. So it's very significant, and very soon you will see that India may even have the ability to manufacture this in partnership with. That's where General Atomics is going as far as the importance. Now, we know one person, as Sri pointed out, who just wanted to tag this attack that took place, and they wanted to make sure that clause is added that India will cooperate. And you can guess where that's coming from, Sriji.
And India and Maldives agreed to face replacement of Indian military personnel. So the Indian military personnel were there at Maldives' request, and this actually costs India more. And maybe India is saying, okay, fine, if that's what you want.
And I think what's happened is, I know many pundits would have opined on this, which is namely that technically this operates under Maldives Defense and National Forces, MDNF, or what they called. Now, these are people who help them in using these helicopters and using this machinery which is there. They don't actually fly these things by themselves. And I don't know, much political ado has been made out. I think the two foreign ministers have worked out a deal whereby they would be either retired personnel or some people who are capable but who are trained in this machinery will be used. That's what is going to happen. So there's no question of unilateral pullout, as was made out by the kind of recalcitrant president. He seems to have now softened and come to the reality. Probably he was playing the Chinese tone. That's how I see it, Sriji.
Now, India touts the success of African Union's inclusion in the G20 under its presidency, shouting for UN reform. So, UN reform, India has been asking for it. So have some other countries. How realistic is this?
Nothing will happen, Sriji. Nothing will happen because it is dominated by a group of countries. You can easily gauge this because it is a collegium dominated by a vast set of what we call as communist, socialist, and bloc. Any attempt to reform will be thwarted down. You can look at a series of cases that has come out, and most of them points to this particular bloc in terms of attempting to reform.
We have been telling you about this. I think 1 or 2 episodes ago, Sridharji mentioned about the Ghost Armada. I think 2 episodes ago. We also touched upon it last week. And today, they are coming back again. And we are seeing that this illicitly trafficked oil is actually funding Hamas and Hezbollah. Sridharji, first of all, this Yemeni official confirmed that despite its warnings of imminent Houthi threat, Biden administration ignored its advice and initiated Iran nuclear discussions. When was this, sir?
This is as soon as Biden took over. You remember one of the first things that as soon as Biden took over, we covered this in DGI. This must be one of the old president or retired president or ex-president Obama's initiating to be one of the policy matters. And immediately, lo and behold, that's the first topic that they took out, bring Iran, and also the left-wing communist EU. So these two people somehow felt that Iran can be contained, just as they felt that both Hamas and Taliban can have representative offices in Qatar. Again, the broad policy of Obama, which is being followed by Biden's team. And you can see, I mean, we played this out 3 years ago. Now it is, 3.5 years or 3 years and few months later, this is now coming to the public. I mean, where a Yemeni official is now confirming, we warned, but the story is that people didn't listen. And now look at what the consequences are. This is where, there was also a rub-off between Biden and Saudi Arabia, King Salman. If you go back in time, there was a lot of fissure between the US and Saudi Arabia. And then Biden went back to patch up the relationship. there's no surprise. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to use the James Bond adage, which is tomorrow's news today, or but we are certainly way ahead of forecasting what was to come, and it comes, lo and behold, 1 year later, or few days later, or a few weeks later.
Sir, the IRGC is being charged in multiple criminal cases. No surprise here. I mean, even in the Trump administration, they took out Soleimani, and they have been saying this. So now IRGC has gone and embedded itself into at least into the 3 H's, if not more. Even if you charge them, are they going to drag them through which courts? Are they going to be tried in the United States?
Exactly. 2 cases have been filed by DOJ, one in DC District Court and one is New York. Why? Because either the transactions would have been initiated in one of the 2 locations. One is a Omani official who has been caught. Another is a Chinese lady who has been caught, who was trying to facilitate the oil sale. Again, we gave illustrative examples of how oil tankers are chosen. And, in a tongue-in-cheek, she asked me the question, how does this get funded? I said, it's very simple. It's a fraction of a dollar. And, you steal the oil and you sell it. Who are the 3 countries to which the oil was sold? No surprise. Russia, China, and Syria. These were the 3 countries to which they were attempting to sell. The oil sale was, I think, somewhere around, either $60 million. But US has seized $108 million. The details are not known, whether they even seized cash, and $500,000 barrels of oil has been frozen. I think it's the ship that they picked out was Abyss, from where they have frozen, and they filed the case, Sriji.
Over 85 strikes in retaliation to what happened on Tower 22. I think it was Tower 22, if I'm not wrong. Correct. And now we have some pictures of this. I'm going to share that with you. This is after the fact. And Sridharji, let's get back to this. What is the effect of this going to be, sir?
What is the effect of this going to be? Biden goes to the press and says, we have now launched retaliatory attacks. We are delivering a clear message that no American will be harmed, and should an American be harmed, we will strike back with full force. That was Biden's kind of a statement. They targeted 85 sites and they blasted. And, if you want, you can go and search the YouTube and look at the video of the strikes. You'll see lots of smokes, lots of fire. The question is, what followed after? That's the interesting part. What followed after was a statement. US was not looking for a war with Iran, and White House says strikes designed to put an end to the threat on troops. So you strike and then you say, we are not looking for war with Iran. This is, just gives you a message. Don't worry, we'll strike few sites. And there's a lot of skepticism within the US security and US ex-retired US officials, defense officials. What did the target and what did we achieve? Was the mission, did we really achieve the mission? Did we take out the people who hurt us? The answer seems to be from them. The answer is no. And then we have a second situation, which is the former US intelligence official who was responsible for Iran now confirming that Iran is very close to a nuclear weapon. Okay, they have now drones, they have locations, they have, the 3H locations where they have embedded either IRGC or IRGC type commandos or IRGC trained. They're very sophisticated weapons. They have rocket launchers. Now they have, all they need is nuclear weapon to threaten the world, Sriji. And all of this has been ignored, and United States and the world wasted time trying to negotiate. So I have tremendous skepticism that US will achieve anything out of this, Sriji.
Now, Mike Pompeo, former Secretary of State, and before that he was the Director of CIA, asserts that strikes will succeed only if Iran and Iranian targets are chosen as deterrence measures. House Speaker Mike Johnson agrees with him. And also Mike Johnson made another question. He said, who is really running the wall strategy, or who is really running the Biden administration, I should say? Sridharji, this question we have been asking for a long time. Let's get back to that in just a moment. Let's take a look at the proxies that are operating on behalf of Iran. You have the Hamas in Gaza, Hezbollah in Lebanon. You have the Hezbollah Houthis in Yemen. You have the Bahraini militants in Bahrain, Hezbollah Iraq Shia militias, and you have Hezbollah Iraqi Shia militias, Shia foreign fighters in Syria. Need I say more? So it
just gives you a complete map to our viewers as to the mess that United States has got itself in, because A, it pursued a policy of negotiation, B, it did not heed to the M&E intelligence input not to engage Iran, and 3, it was very passive as these forces built up, and they just, it's not like just they landed, they hit Israel and all around, starting from October 7th, Sriji.
Now, Israel's defense minister says 30% of Gaza has been destroyed. The Houthis assert they fired ballistic missiles at Israel's Eilat. So one of the Houthi missiles was almost going to strike the US ship, and I think the last line of defense caught it. Did you hear about that?
Yes. That's about less than 10 days ago, Sriji. Less than 10 days ago. They almost, as you rightly said. In fact, the captain of the ship was seeing as that missile was taken out, falling not too far from the ship, Sriji. So that's again kind of I heard about it, but that just tells you how benign US has been in terms of deterrence measures. There's no deterrence, reacting and responding at convenience. Before I forget, very important point. They waited for climate to clear and hence delay in responding with these attacks. That's the statement. Okay, that just basically tells you everybody clears out, then you launch these missiles, and the flares gives you the magnanimity or the magnificent view. But the question is, what are they targeting, Sriji?
All of them have escaped. The horses have bolted the farm.
Exactly.
Two-state solution. US says it's for it. Israel was always for it. It's the Hamas, it is the Palestinians who have been always walking away from this. So everybody is talking about a two-state solution. I'm trying to understand and connect the dots. Today, Israel has said there is going to be no concept of Hamas running Gaza anymore. We have a different idea of how we want to administer this. And they're also talking to Egypt, negotiations like, I think Egypt owes a lot of money to Israel. They're trying to say a quid pro quo. Okay, we'll write off some of that loan if you give us some land in the Sinai Peninsula, and we can build a new city for them and keep them far, far away. And it's all desert country. It will be difficult to come across from there. Something of that nature. I don't know. Is that the two-state solution? What do you think?
The two-state solution is very simple. At least what I hear from some of my ex-friends. When I say ex-friends, once they enter political and the army theater of the army, then it's very difficult to kind of reach and communicate. Some of my friends, point out that they want this to be. They have no objection on a two-state solution, provided Palestine is ruled by Palestine. They don't believe that will be the case. Thus far, if you see all the media coverage, the negotiations are with Hamas, not with Palestinian Authority, not with Palestine. And Gaza, which is a small strip of land controlled by Hamas, is dictating and enacting this whole kind of terrorist drama. So therefore, Israel says, let me dispense and get rid of the Hamas from Gaza, then we can sit down with the Palestinians, not with Hamas.
Now we are looking at some other areas. North Korea continues its missile salvo with cruise missiles being fired off of the west coast. Philippines and Vietnam sign joint security and trade pact with rising threats and territorial claims from China. Siddharji, talk to this and I will bring up the picture, sir. I'll just go out of focus for just one moment. I'll be joining back in 1 minute, please talk to this, sir. I'll be right back. So we can share the picture.
You can share the picture, Sriji.
Sir, it will take me a bit of time. So go ahead and start talking to it and I'll get the pictures.
No, effectively, there are three significant decisions that has flown out of this Philippines-Vietnam deal. First and foremost, Philippines for the first time has decided and its government has approved acquisition or purchase of submarines. It recognizes the importance of defense and safety. It recognizes it needs to protect itself because there's been constant incursions. We have covered through DGI that by March, Philippines will also get India-made BrahMos missiles land-based. So it is taking measures, the appropriate measures, to protect its territorial integrity, especially in the Spratly, Scarborough, and the South China Sea islands around Spratly. So why is it doing? Because it believes that that's its land, and there's actually a stuck ship where the Philippine forces are. Whenever it tries to send supplies to this to the stationed armed personnel, it gets constantly harassed or constantly threatened, and sometimes even attacked by the Chinese Coast Guard. So it feels it requires a deterrence measure. The island, the strip of island that we are talking about, or the area, is what we have covered this extensively. Go back and look at the DGIs, earlier DGIs, the 9-dot line, the 9-dotted lines. The 9-dotted line is artificial line drawn by the Chinese, and they believe all of that area in South China Sea belongs to them. When they do so, what happens is they pick up very strategic areas of Vietnam, strategic areas of Malaysia, there are strategic areas of Indonesia. It encompasses the islands. All it believes, all it says belongs to China. Now look at China map. China has no right, no access to any of this. But it suddenly realized over the last 3 decades or so, it realizes that it needs Navy, it needs access because its resources flow through it. And it then since launched this, what we call as the surreptitious or the fictitious or spurious agenda of building capabilities in that. The Spratly Island again was developed, and infrastructure was developed again during that period during the and preceding period of Biden administration, Obama-Biden administration. And so therefore what Philippines and Vietnam are saying is, when you look at the map, if you draw a straight line between, effectively the Spratly Islands now can be jointly controlled in a partnership between Philippines and Vietnam. There's a small strip of land that you can see to the left of that Philippines point, or to the east of the west of the Philippines point. That's the Palawan Island. That's where currently, a lot of the deterrent mechanisms established. When you go further past and you see the first red dotted line past that, again to the west, that's where the Philippines, the ship is sunk, or it is marooned in that point. That's where the Philippine forces are. Now, look at Spratly Islands, where Spratly Islands is. It has no proximity to China, and part of this is Vietnam's claim, part of this is Philippines' claim, part of this is Malaysia's claim. They believe amongst the 3 of them, they can kind of sort out this matter in terms of joint security collaboration. They do not want Chinese to have any bar of it, Sriji.
Sir, in all this stuff, the big stakes appears to be the amount of oil that is buried underneath these islands. Is it true?
There are 3 essential things. Natural gas, trillions of dollars worth of natural gas, billions of barrels of shale gas, of the fossil fuels. Then there is marine food. which is extensively used by the Indonesians fisheries for its economy and for supply. And then the fourth is it's an important navigational gateway. Close to 36 or 40% of Chinese resources, probably close to 80% of its energy resources flows through this route. So it wants to control. Once it controls, it can dictate, but it also wants to levy a toll on all people using its naval Armageddon to control access, because most of them are small nations. There's no large nation. So this is the kind of the strategic agenda of China, but I think which is what they're trying, which is what US has been reluctantly. I mean, the whole Quad formation was as a result of this, because if you take South China Sea, the next is Indian Ocean. If you control these two, you're talking about effectively 66% of the global trade around the world.
Thank you, sir. And Ukraine is claiming, we have video evidence, but we can't show it to you. It will get copyright objections. So there's actually a ship that is being targeted and being taken down. And Ukraine says that it's a Russian ship. What has Russia said so far, sir?
Nothing about it, Sriji. It's the first bit of information. This came through late US time, so which is what we are sharing, that the using what they call as the seaborne drone, they have taken out a Russian naval ship. So it's I think the Russia-Ukraine war is more becoming like a toy game, Sriji. So therefore, these people are taking out some toys, and the Ukrainians are reciprocating with their own version of it. But this video, when you look at this video, it's very compelling in terms of how a ship is helpless in terms of an attack by a drone. And this is what you had touched on in terms of a drone attack on the US ship, which was thwarted by the US missiles.
And in other news headlines, Hungary is sidelined as the EU approves funding for Ukraine. The US aircraft carriers lead large deck exercises with Japan east of Taiwan. For some unexplained, oh yeah, there it is. There you go. Sir, this is the Philippine Sea, where the US aircraft, Navy aircraft are flying in formation. So US is also saying that, look, we are here, we are looking over your shoulder.
They are, Sriji, but I'm very skeptical. The reason why we are putting up this news is this item is, you have this exercise going on in the East Taiwan or the Philippine Sea, but you have incessant, or you have relentless, if I have to rephrase, relentless missiles being thrown in the Korean Peninsula by the North Koreans. So what exactly are these exercises, and what exactly the outcome of these exercises? Whether there is actually a deterrence measure that's been put in place, or Japan is learning out of this exercise to defend itself, recognizing the capabilities or incapabilities of United States, Sriji. And both Ukraine, Russia, and the Middle East war is a classic example of United States unable to halt any of the things that are going on in those two theaters.
Yes, indeed. And now let's take a few questions. Sridharji, we have a couple of questions from our viewers. Let's take a look at that. Thank you, Prashant Khubasat, for your donation. Zookeeper wants to know, what is your opinion on US stock market?
US stock market is, I think we had already predicted, it's the equities market is one of the most powerful markets. We expect it to grow, somewhere between 6 and 9% this year. The earnings are very positive. The rates are likely to fall in the second half of the year. The GDP is already forecast to grow, close to, greater than 2.3, 2.4% based on the run rate. So the market will be buoyant. It may not be driven by tech sector, but you will see very important consumer sectors, the energy sector. You may see, materials, etc. In a very positive healthcare, very positive kind of momentum.
Sridhar, the next question is from Namami Sharde. Dear Sridharji, please give your comment on the intentional discrimination shown by US-based credit rating agencies against Bharat.
I mean, what is my opinion? My opinion is the credit rating agencies are credit rating agencies. And I think that the India, we covered this in one of the DGIs, India made a very compelling case as to why the rating agencies model are inaccurate when you take various factors like politics, nutrition, reduction of poverty, all these kinds of non-tangible aspects in determining, okay, we believe the credit outlook doesn't look positive, so therefore we'll give it a BB rating, which has been stoutly defended and denied by the chief economic advisor and the economic team of India. And they gave an alternate view. Look at our reserves, look at our economic GDP growth, look at our fiscal deficit, look at our general economic stability, look at the way we have maintained price stability when you had oil prices. So they have made a very compelling case in using various tangible financial variables to justify India deserves a better credit rating relative to what these what I call monolithic or historical medieval agencies have been using as a formula. So that would be my kind of response to that, Sriji.
Thank you so much, Sridharji. And viewers will be back again on Tuesday. Please don't forget to click on the bell button for notifications. And also, if you have not subscribed to our channel, do subscribe to our channel. Thank you, Sridharji, and we'll be back on Tuesday. Namaskar.
Namaskar. Have a wonderful weekend. Great to be here today.